everybody, welcome to part 26 of our Clone Wars rewrite. We are currently rewriting the character of Ahsoka Tano, and in this video we'll be focusing on Season 3, Episode 18, The Citadel, where we kick off the arc with a nervous Ahsoka who's rising to the challenge of this daunting mission. Thanks for joining us.
Hey y'all, just a heads up, if you want to see the full version of this analysis, where Emmy and I discuss more of the episode and draw on external examples to illustrate how some of the ideas in TCW could be improved, consider becoming a patron, link in the description. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Alright, Citadel arc. Argument against Ahsoka stuff. Okay, so Ahsoka talks about a dangerous and sensitive mission like it's a fun field trip. When Anakin tells her she's not coming, she throws a tantrum and accuses him of not being fair right after acknowledging that she supposedly understands he's just looking out for her. She sulks and tries to go over Anakin's head by whining to Plo Koon and trying to get him to say she can come, and when he doesn't cave to her, she just goes ahead and disobeys orders, tagging along and jeopardizing the mission. Ahsoka outright lies to Anakin and Obi-Wan, using Plo Koon as a tool to justify her outrageous actions. Obi-Wan, instead of pulling rank and ordering Ahsoka to stay with the ship, backs her up after she once again throws her master under the bus and happily invites her to join the mission. Anakin and Obi-Wan are both idiots in this moment because first, Ahsoka's story doesn't even add up, and secondly, they know Ahsoka hasn't been briefed on the mission, meaning that at best she'd be a useless addition, and at worst she'd be a liability. But of course, we already know how it all turns out, and the writers once again expose their bias, and Ahsoka further exposes herself as a Mary Sue. And I think that covers... Oh yeah, of course the writers prop up Ahsoka by having it turn out that she's actually an indispensable addition to the team, a fact that she makes sure to rub in Anakin's face through snarky comments.
Okay, I hate this arc. Let's do it.
You've been avoiding this
take
one.
Off my headphones right before she says anything stupid.
Good
so
luck
my
with
headphones
that.
will be off for like 90% of the episode, or at least first.
Yeah,
It's-
I feel like
it's-
I'm gonna need you
It's
a little
fine
bit more than
because
that.
I know her crap by heart.
I know, it hurts, doesn't it?
Yes,
It hurts
my
to be.
soul is dead.
What we have kind of written down is, I mean, something that we suggested right from the start, even back, when I first made the addressing Ahsoka videos, is that just have her brought along. But also we were planning to give her more time with Tarkin, and basically the things she was going to learn are humility, working with someone unlikable, and reiterating the Jedi's role, what it means to be a Jedi. So those are the things we're trying to implement in this episode. Well, in this arc.
More propping up Ahsoka right off the bat. Adaptation is the key to survival. I mean, like, it's not wrong, but it's clearly there to prop up Ahsoka.
Yeah, I think we talked about this in one of our more recent analysis videos, and we went through all the quotes, and it's basically saying that the rest of the group adapting to Ahsoka being there, like Ahsoka being there is the key to survival.
And also the fact of her somehow adapting to a mission she knows nothing about.
That's not adaptation, that's Mary Sue omniscience. Well, Mary Sue luck, right? Because she doesn't know what's going on, but she just happens to do everything right. I guess I can read off the quote, because now I don't have to worry about switching screens. Okay, a stupid person is someone who has the facts, who has the proper information, and still makes the wrong decision. It's a quote from Daryl Davis, apparently.
But how do we know Master Peel is still alive?
The Separatists won't dare kill Master Peel until they have what they need.
We've narrowed it down to 3 possible locations they could be holding him at.
My greatest concern is infiltrating their outer security. The lifeform scanners will not be easy to fool.
I've got a thought about that.
I just heard about the briefing. We're going to rescue Master Peel, right?
Ahsoka, I'm sorry I didn't tell you earlier, but you won't be coming along on this one.
Not coming? But you're breaking into the Citadel. No one's ever done it.
The Citadel wasn't designed to hold common criminals. It was created to hold Jedi if any of us lost our way. It's not a place for Padawans.
You're just being protective again. That's not fair. How am I supposed to learn if you won't let me share the risk?
This isn't a mission for learning. You either do or die. And that's not a risk I'm willing to share.
You
We'll
know,
end on
you
a
think she would
lovely
have
note.
figured out she wasn't part of the mission when they didn't include her in the briefing?
Yeah. I mean, look at Last Airbender. When Zuko doesn't get a explicit invitation to the war meeting, he's like, well, I guess I'm not wanted there. And I mean, like, there's other stuff going on there too, but it's like, yeah, if you didn't get an invitation to the meeting, maybe you're not intended to be part of it. Like, But then, yeah, this is all framed as bad on Anakin. Oh, he didn't tell her. Like, he didn't want to tell her. It's like, well, maybe if she didn't throw a tantrum like a spoiled child, she could actually have an adult conversation when faced with something she doesn't particularly like, then he'd have no trouble telling her. And again, I think I've said before, like, that doesn't absolve Anakin of being responsible in that regard, but like, it takes two. He acts the way he does because of how she reacts. That doesn't excuse how he acts. It's just like, okay, but you can't. It's not like it's all on him.
And the other thing is the same old painting being protective as
being untrusting, distrustful. There we go. Words. I have words.
And like he is absolutely right. Like, this is
100%.
not a suitable mission for her. I'd argue that a lot of missions,
especially
she's
with
been
the
on already, were not suitable for her, but she went on those anyway.
Which, I mean, then raises this whole thing as like, well, why does Anakin draw the line here? So the answer is plot.
Everything for the sake of plot.
They just wanted to have this forced conflict. So even though we're this far into the series now, they're like, hey, remember when Anakin learned to trust Ahsoka? How about we have him not trust Ahsoka again?
Yeah, it's more of the show just repeating the same plot points over and over and over and over because they're creatively bankrupt. They can't come up with anything new.
And I mean, like,
again, like paving the
I'm
way
not gonna
for Disney.
act like it's easy to come up with like new conflicts and things like that.
No,
but it's like,
not. But like this,
do better.
It's just like, did you even try?
Mm-hmm.
And knowing Filoni, I highly doubt that he did.
Okay. Yeah. And so then it's clear right off the bat the reason she wants to go. No one's ever done it.
Bragging rights.
It's like, oh, you're not coming, but I could help. Rescue Master Peel. Nope. You're breaking into the Citadel. No one's ever done it. I've got to be there. And then he explains here, like, the reason why the Citadel is so formidable and like what it was created for. And someone brought up in our comments, like, I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but in the next episode, she's like, "Oh, I can't believe you think that we should have a prison like this in the hands of the Republic." Oh, but it's like, you know, this was created for Jedi who've gone bad. You like, you know, maybe a couple names come to mind. Dooku, maybe Dooku comes to mind, and Maul. Have you thought of Maul? Or I guess at this point they don't know that Maul is alive. So, but still, Dooku.
And
Number
eventually
one,
Krell.
just like right there. I mean, when they kind of know that there's like a Sith Lord out there that's not Dooku, or at least I think, yeah, they kind of have an idea that like Dooku's not the top dog here. So it's like eventually you hope to get to the bottom of this, and you know, where are you gonna keep that guy? Mm-hmm. Or are you just like, but we're gonna kill them, right? So we don't need a place to keep them.
Yeah, that's
right. Like these are the implications.
Ahsoka.
It's like, oh well, we don't need a place like this because it's bad, and it's not like it would come to have any use to us because we're not gonna try these leaders. You know, we're not going to put them through the justice system and then, you know, punish them that way. We're going to just kill them, which is hilarious because then when she finds out that Anakin kills Dooku, she's all like,
it's so two-faced. She's always so two-faced.
her characterization is whatever they want it to be in the moment. So inconsistent.
Not a character. She's just a Mary Sue plot device.
What else is there to talk about here? She says he's being a bad teacher because he's not putting her life in danger in this scenario. Again, he's done it before, so it's kind of like, okay, this is forced conflict. And yeah, how am I supposed to learn if you won't let me share the risk? What?
There's other ways to learn?
Mm-hmm.
You moron?
I think we said in the reaction series that it's like there should be like a progression to her missions. So far, I would have expected that there would be some missions that Anakin doesn't take her on because they're too dangerous. Like, I mean, think about when she was with Luminara or whatever, right? Like, maybe Anakin was on a much more dangerous mission at the time, and so he's like, hey, go hang out with Luminara. She's just guarding Newt Gunray while he's transferred from here, point A to point B. Like, you can reasonably speculate that this has happened before, but then they have it happen on screen and they have Ahsoka throw a tantrum.
Like, look at her face here, just like oozing disrespect.
Yeah. But again, like it further shows, like, with that reasonable speculation in as part of the context here, it goes to show that the only reason she's throwing a fit here is because she wants to go to the Citadel. It's not about Master Peel. It's not about learning. It's about breaking rights.
She just wants to get in on the action. Do we want to do anything with this scene?
Of course we do. Brain.
Cutting it.
All right, well, we would have had her be part of the briefing. I mean, there's been plenty of previous episodes where they just have her kind of standing in the background while everybody else talks, and then you're like, well, why is she there? But at least in this case, she's going to be part of the mission, so it kind of makes sense for her to be there.
Maybe when Anakin says, I have an idea about that, then she asks what it is, and he tells her, you'll see.
Yeah, we could do that.
These are your troops. They're battle droids. What do you mean they've been reprogrammed to follow your orders?
It's about the mission. Master Skywalker doesn't want me to go.
That is his choice.
I know, but I think he's being overly protective. He's picking and choosing which assignments I can be a part of.
He is your master.
Yes, but it's not for him to decide when and how I should put my life in danger. That should be my choice.
The way she says, yes, bothers me so much.
And the fact, like, it's not his decision. Yes, it is. It is his decision.
See, that you cannot make an informed choice without information and experience. He has more information and experience, so he has better understanding of, and he's viewing her from the outside, right? I mean, it's been exceedingly clear that she has a very inflated view of her own abilities. So maybe she's not the best judge of what she can and can't handle. But of course, no, the problem is that Anakin is so protective that he's underestimating her. And she, of course, has a perfect understanding of her own abilities, and she's above and beyond in every respect.
Mary Sue. So I'm assuming we're just gonna cut that scene.
I feel like there'd be a way to include her in like some of the other conversations that have been going on. Like maybe instead of having that weird conversation between R2 and C3PO, Ahsoka kind of explains it to C3PO, and then like you'd still give R2 some chirps and warbles to have him be part of the conversation, so it's not like, Ahsoka's treating him like a pet too much. But yeah, I think it would work better to maybe throw her in there instead. Because like in A Sphere of Influence, she's like not even part of the opening of the episode, and then she just suddenly shows up and she's like the main focus, or half of the main focus for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, why was he in the setup, bro? So it's like, I don't want to do that. So it's like, I want to see her more, have her be part of what's going on. Actually, if we wanted, we could have her, like, she's nervous about it because it is a formidable, like, maybe she's the one who's kind of like, hey, this mission is like do or die, right? Because like we've been setting up this kind of thing that she's got this fear of death, and yeah, maybe Anakin's like, don't worry, you got this. So then she goes to Plo Koon because she's like, hey, I'm really not sure I should be part of this. And then maybe he's just like, hey, trust your master. He knows your capabilities, and if he believes that you can handle this, then trust him, and your team will be with you, right, to help you when things get rough. Now the onus is on her to trust, right? Like, I think I've mentioned this before, right? Like, I think in our reaction video, like, trust is in some ways the opposite of fear. Like, in not in every circumstances, but like, I know for myself that the most effective way that I combat my fear is I trust the people around me to help me, to support me, so I think like having that lesson in this series would be much more healthy and beneficial and good modeling for potential kids in the audience than, oh, well, if you're concerned for somebody, you don't trust them.
This is your idea. Carbon freezing?
Hey, you wanted to shield us from the lifeform scanners.
We sure this thing is safe?
I don't want to end up a wall decoration.
Sure is handy that Ahsoka managed to sneak in there.
Yeah, no, like, that would not work. It's just, that's BS.
Especially because it's like, there seemed to be just enough pods created for the whole team.
Exactly.
But then suddenly she did too. It's like, I guess they did another round. Like, oh, hold up, guys. And then the other thing is that you see Plo Koon. He's
he watches as they're loaded.
He's watching
onto
this
the ship.
happen, and so in that sense, reasonably assuming that he did see her and didn't do anything about it, then his line at the end, oh, I suppose I did, kind of makes sense. But it's like, why would he do that?
Exactly. It's twisting the character to be completely dishonest, which goes against everything he is as a Jedi.
It's dishonest and it's irresponsible because she hasn't been briefed.
Exactly.
She has no idea what they're getting into and what needs to happen. She's a liability. So him respecting her wishes because, she's old enough to make decisions for herself, he is jeopardizing the life of every other person on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not something that Plo Koon would do.
No,
he's not going to put a teenager's like
whims,
bid for independence above people's lives. It's like, okay, assert yourself on a different mission, honey. These people don't need any wrenches in this mission. She should have been woken up, being unfrozen in the Jedi Council room, and all of them just kind of looking at her like, you gonna explain yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should put you on archive duty again.
I was thinking of maybe giving that line by the clone to Ahsoka instead.
Oh, are we sure this thing is safe? I don't want to end up a wall decoration.
I don't know if I'd leave in the wall decoration part because it feels a little
it's
too
just a
on
callback
the nose.
to OT. That's all it is.
Yeah, but I don't like it for that reason. You don't know this information, so like, why say it at all?
Yeah, it kind of like, is this a normal thing that people get frozen and put on mob bosses' walls? Like,
yeah, no, like, it's too specific.
That doesn't, yeah,
it's too specific.
yeah. Okay, so he's expecting the Jedi.
They're not about to let one of their own be tortured.
We're just under 7 minutes into this episode. So it's like every 2 minutes on average. They're like, by the way, remember the stakes? It's like they're just trying to fill time. But then when you're like, hey, why couldn't they do this? And it's like, well, they didn't have time. Oh, it's 22 minutes. 22 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Snips.
Hey, Master.
I must have carbon sickness because I could swear that's Ahsoka.
Your eyes are fine. It's Ahsoka's hearing that needs help.
I received orders to join the team. I thought you...
I agree.
From who?
I discussed it with Master Plo.
He didn't tell me.
You were already in Carbonite.
So right away, her story doesn't add up. Oh, I thought you knew. Oh, well, you were already in Carbonite. So then why did you think he knew?
Gave you a specific order not to come.
If there's one thing I've learned from you, Master, it's that following direct orders isn't always the best way to solve a problem.
And I've pointed out before that it's like, okay, what problem are you trying to solve here, Ahsoka? Because you're not worried about Master Peel. This isn't about Master Peel. You've proved that. So the only problem you're trying to solve is that you just want it to come. You just want what you want, and ain't nobody gonna tell you no. Screw the lives of everybody else on the mission. Like, it's just such an entitled, arrogant, like, seriously? This is what you want your character to be?
A raging narcissist.
But they have her do it in such a way that no fault. Oh, if there's one thing I've learned from you, this is all on you. And then they have Obi-Wan come and...
I see Anakin's new teaching method is to do as I say, not as I do. Welcome aboard.
Right? So, Ahsoka. Look at angelic little Ahsoka. No, this is all Anakin's fault.
Yeah, and like, it's spitting on Obi-Wan again, completely twisting him into something that is completely out of character for him. The Obi-Wan from the prequels would have hated Ahsoka. Hated her so much. He's like, okay, I'm stuck with another Anakin now. Great. He would hate her.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Anakin probably be like, ain't no way that I am bringing a child into war. Yeah, the whole situation makes 0 sense. Obviously, she's supposed to be there, so unfortunate we lose that delightful line.
Like, obviously we could keep the, hey Master, hey Snips.
You okay? Like, everything working? You know, how many fingers am I holding up? Like, maybe have like a fun little bantery kind of moment where they kind of like make sure that everybody's okay, that there's no lingering effects, right? Because you want to make sure you're at 100% before you really start the mission.
Crossed arms. You were right. The wind conditions are too strong for jetpacks.
I thought they had limited intel. How did they? I guess that'd be something that hadn't changed over however long since they'd had their last information, but...
Oh yeah, I would get rid of Ahsoka's crossed arms. Maybe have her kneeling in between Anakin and Obi-Wan. I think she'd want to stick close to Anakin on this one. Especially if we had her earlier, like, kind of expressing some doubt, some fear about going into this mission.
Yeah, you could maybe, you know, have them passing the binoculars back and forth.
You hanging in there, Snips?
Couldn't be better. I could do without the wind, though.
In the context, the actual context, like, that line pisses me off. Like, she breaks orders, risks everyone's lives just by being there, and she has the audacity to complain. Like, shut your mouth.
Yeah. She's, like, putting on this, like, bravado, but then she's complaining. It's like, okay. Yeah, 0 humility, 0 personal accountability. I think I'd keep him, you know, like, hey, you hanging in there? And I would probably just, like, change the tone of her line, but she's like, you know, couldn't be better, right? But, like, you know, she doesn't, like, lean back casually. She's, like, you know, close to the wall she's hanging on, but she gives him a strained grin and just like, yeah, I'm good. It's one of those things. It's like, I guess they're just trying to reiterate the fact that it's super windy. It's like, we were just told that it was super windy. Do we really need to have them? Oh, and by the way, remember, it's super windy, guys.
And it's like, okay, how would you not see him?
I mean, just don't look down, I guess.
I would not have the droid walk right over there because then it's just stupid that he doesn't see them. Like, again, making the droids as unbelievably incompetent as possible. It's like, okay, they're clearly not a threat, so why should I care?
On the one hand, it's kind of random, but on the other hand, I guess it's like, well, it makes sense that they would have patrols. It makes sense that part of that patrol would be to come out, open the door, right? Look around. Maybe.
The timing is like, because they come out exactly as they reach the platform. Like, I would have them, like, get up there and the droids are already there.
Right, like, so he pokes his head up and the droids are already on the thing, on the platform, and then quickly ducks back down and is like, shh. You could do that. You'd still get that moment of tension and like, because that's what that's here for, right? Like, they want to have this like tense moment. I would, yeah, maybe have it that he lets go of the ledge and goes back to like his previous handhold here.
Yeah.
You could even have a moment where he almost slips, right? Like, add a little bit more tension.
They locked the door. It's ray shielded.
It's one of those things, it's like, I'm sorry, were you expecting that the doors would just be like open or unlocked? Or like, I guess they figured they could like cut through a door, but wouldn't that set off alarms too, right? Like,
You'd think.
They're freaking out. It's like, I'm sorry, what were you expecting?
There's an opening up there.
We know they're ventilation ducts, but they're far too small for us to gain access.
Too small for you, maybe. But I think I can squeeze through.
Well, we hadn't planned on Ahsoka being here. Perhaps she's right.
I would just
Maybe
have that as part of their plan.
I was gonna say, maybe like to give her something to participate in the briefing at the beginning. Maybe they have a moment where they're like, oh, you know, we don't know this, like, you know, there should be a door here, but like, how are we gonna get it? Like, if we, you know, cut through the door, then it'll trigger alarms or whatever. And then Ahsoka's like, well, what's this here? It's like, oh, well, those are ventilation ducts, but like, they're gonna be too small. She's like, I could maybe fit. And they're like, oh, that's, you know, great. So yeah, they have that as, and then when they get here, yeah, she just
As soon as
so,
the droids like step away, I would have Obi-Wan just kind of nod at Ahsoka, and she nods back and does her thing. I love how like they squeezed her theme in there, because like, oh, look at Ahsoka, she's coming through, man, like she's showing them.
Yeah, no, oh, you know, she's right. Look at that, she wasn't supposed to be here, but like, it's a good thing she's here, and she's right, you know.
Oh wait, she's about to say something stupid. I'm gonna take off my headphones.
See? I can handle myself after all.
Okay. She said the stupid thing, and I didn't have to listen to it. Yay!
That really warranted a response, and he's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, no, like, he always just takes it. He always takes crap.
And it's funny because people always frame it like, oh, you know, Ahsoka doesn't take stuff from them, right? Like, that's not, she's so sassy, she's always like clapping back, you know? It's like,
but no, like,
more often
she's always the one.
It seems
just
like he's the one.
Out.
He's dishing it out and they just take it. And
yeah.
I mean, it's not like they never dish it out, but she always gets a chance to clap back, but they don't.
Clear favoritism.
It doesn't even make sense, because all she did was sneak in through a ventilation duct and then open a door. Oh, look at that, I can handle myself. It's like, that would have made more sense to say, like, after you climbed the wall, like, which is super dangerous and stuff like that, not after you just crawled through a duct. Maybe she's kind of including the whole wall climbing in there too, but I don't know. It's
yeah, like, just Just cut her line.
Just have like Ahsoka, or sorry, she opens the door and maybe she says something like, "Welcome to the Citadel," and then Anakin just kind of like pats her on the shoulder as he walks past, like, "Hey, good job," kind of thing.
I don't think I'd have
You
her
have a
actually
team.
say anything. Maybe at most she kind of gives a broad, sweeping gesture, welcoming them in.
I think she'd be a bit relieved to be off the wall. So yeah, you could have like a light moment in there. But yeah, there you go. Non-verbal, just welcome and good job, all through action, right? Like I feel that's something that's missing. Like it's not like they never have those moments, but there's so many times that they could have had more
Non-verbal
You don't have to have
communication.
talking all the time,
Yeah.
and it'd be nice to see more of that.
Gendy's 2003 Clone Wars excelled at showing nonverbal communication, especially with the clones.
And that's a perfect example. You're not sacrificing action and flash and cool factor by getting rid of dialogue. Watching the clones in action in Gendy's Clone Wars is they're cool.
Yeah, no kidding.
Super cool.
Yeah.
It's like if anything, having them be quiet and just flawlessly performing their job like adds to the coolness factor. Kids show.
Say goodbye to your one good eye.
If I recall correctly, which I do, Plo Koon was like, oh, there's 3 possible areas that they could be holding him. But the group stays in one group. Like, the team doesn't split up to go so I guess they're just super lucky that the first place they look is the place he happens to be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's kind of feels convenient that they found him almost immediately after.
Just in time, too. But yeah, you don't necessarily want to like split up the team. Well, because they have them go for Tarkin.
They do end up splitting up later.
Yeah, but that's to split up the information. So what if we had it that like maybe we'll have to see kind of how things go, but maybe we have it that they split up into just 2 teams because you don't want to spread your forces too thin. Because you could have it that they find Tarkin first. They come to one of the places that they think Peel would be, but they find Tarkin there instead, and he's like, oh no, they took Peel to be tortured. And then to kind of cut down on convenience, you have, them attacked one another, and they're like, oh, we found Tarkin, he says that means that between the last 2 places we'd expect him to be, he must be over here, right? So go over there. And then they arrive just in time here. And then Peel can be like, hey, well, like maybe they're making plans to like reunite again, and he's like, no, let's keep the information separate, right? So we'll just rendezvous back at the ship, not before then. Or you could just have it that they're like, hey, we'll rendezvous back at the ship, and it works out because you have some sort of way of revealing that like they each have half of the information.
I erased the computers when we were boarded and had both of us memorize part of the intel. That way, if somehow I cracked, the information would be useless to them without the other half.
Where's your captain?
Being held with the other officers, I assume.
We're gonna need a new plan for getting out.
Yeah, let's see how the rescue of Tarkin plays out, and then maybe we can.
Why didn't she use her lightsaber right away? She was like trying to push him off or something. Like, okay, you have a lightsaber, just use it.
And like, she has the Force.
That too.
Like, there's the moment in the Slaver arc where the commander throws a tactical droid at Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan just like, oh no, and gets like pinned under the droid for like half a minute before he finally like manually pushes it off. And it's like, I'm sorry, what?
Come on. It's just stupid for the sake of plot to drag out the tension.
Well, tension. Yes, stupid for the sake of action. I'm not gonna sit here and fix all the fight scenes.
Anakin!
I love how like that area is electrified, even though it's like only supposed to take their weapons from them. The fact that it takes Anakin is a surprise. It's like, yeah, we're gonna take their weapons away from them, and then we're gonna electrocute the weapons. Ha! Like everyone else should be being electrocuted right now, and Anakin should be okay.
Are you all right, sir?
Yeah, let's get out of here.
It's a good thing only that hallway has that trick.
I would have Ahsoka be the one to ask, "Are you all right?"
General.
Captain Tarkin.
I never thought I'd see you again. It's going to be impossible to escape.
What if we split up? My team will create a diversion, while Anakin leads the others away. That way, if one of us is captured, the enemy will only have part of the information and not all of it.
Okay, so if we have them find Tarkin first, do we want to have him maybe be like, if you help me escape, right? Then even if Peel cracks, then they've only got half the information, right? So it's like, so you have this kind of like, it's both tactical and selfish, but they're like, no, we've already got our other team searching. We're going to find Peel first. And he's like, well, they took him. So then they contact the other team like, hey, there's only one place he could be. Because currently the way they have it is that they have them find Master Peel, and then they have that action scene in the hallway with the magnetized ceiling, and then they have them find Tarkin. So I'm just wondering, could we do it in such a way that we have them find Tarkin, we still have that action scene, and then they find Peel? We'd have to have Anakin's team here, though. And it has to happen to Anakin's team because Anakin's the only one who gets dragged up to the ceiling.
Oh,
and that's how they get out. So then maybe their plan was to like kind of like come back together. And so we're following Anakin as he's trying to like get to Obi-Wan's team. At the same time, it also doesn't make sense for them to be like, oh yes, let's put all the information together, right? Like, if he trusts that Obi-Wan is going to get Peel, then he doesn't have to be like, no, we're going for Peel too, right? Like, it would be like, yeah, okay, Obi-Wan will get Peel, and back at the ship.
Then maybe they're trying to leave, and that's when the attack happens?
The other option is instead of having them split up, like, that it's kind of like, no, we don't want to spread our forces, but they still find Tarkin first, but they're all together as a group. And Tarkin's like, hey, just take me and let's go. And they're like, no, we're going to go for Peel as well. Similar to this kind of situation where it's like, well, now that you have the one, he can direct you to the other. And then you also have, that play of like, oh, he's trying to be tactical and selfish at the same time. But they're like, no, we're going to rescue our brother. Which also kind of, comes back to what's his face? The guy who's in charge of the Citadel, who was like, oh, they wouldn't leave their brother, right? And then you have them, like, they have this opportunity to leave their brother, but they're like, nah, we ain't gonna do that. And then, they find Peel. And then Peel's like, okay, well, and then they're like, how are we gonna get out of here? Well, let's split up. That makes sense because then, keeping the information split. I think they put Tarkin second because they wanted the reveal.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's Tarkin. But if you flip it around, like, you can still have that reveal. Yeah, exactly. It just comes a little sooner in the episode. And then this way you get more interaction, right? Because he's kind of like what makes this arc super interesting is having those interactions between him and Anakin.
This is one of the original fortress tunnels. The advantage of old archive data.
I would have Anakin order Ahsoka to scout ahead rather than her just like running off by herself.
That's a good idea. I was also gonna say, like, maybe they could do this a little bit more, I don't know, quickly. They're just all going so slow. Just like, oh, okay, let's go out now. Hey, look around. I'd have him say, everybody in. Ahsoka, you scout ahead. So then she, quickly jumps through and runs off down the tunnel, and then while Tarkin and Anakin are like quickly coming through, then you have the clones be like, hey, these are the old fortress tunnels. That's the benefit of old archive data, right? Like, have things going on while things are going on instead of dragging out all the moments. Again, it's like, oh, well, they didn't have time. They only have 22 minutes. They have so much time. If they didn't give everything its own minute, stack things, come on. And then instead of her shouting, oh, the tunnel's clear, I just have her signal. Nonverbal communication.
Things seem to be going as planned.
It's when things do not go as planned that concerns me. What then?
It's when things don't go as planned that we Jedi are at our best. Trust me.
I deserve my trust for those who take action, General Skywalker.
I'm sorry, was this rescue mission not action-y enough for you? Like, we are here, we are taking action. We're breaking into an enemy stronghold to get you guys out. What part of this is passive?
Maybe
Then let me
just
remind
have
you.
him say, like, I reserve my trust for a select few. I don't know what to do with that line.
Yeah, when things do not go as planned, that's what concerns me. What then? Why not just have a callback to the quip that's supposed to mean something here and have him say, well, that's when we adapt. I mean, you could still have him say it's when things don't go as planned that we Jedi are at our best, and then just drop the trust me, and then you don't have this, well, I only reserve my trust for, like, but we could also have what you suggest. We're like, well, I reserve my trust, for a select few. But yeah, they want to set this thing up like, oh, Captain Tarkin's so ungrateful, so that in the next episode, Ahsoka can be like, it's like he's not even grateful that we rescued him. I think it would make a little more sense in our version, because like instead of just escaping with him, they insisted on going for Peel, and now they're kind of in this more unpredictable situation. Yeah, so you could have him have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about that. I don't know if I would have them label it like ungrateful though.
Well, we're gonna be getting rid of that line from Ahsoka anyway.
I'm just wondering if we could have something that kind of like it would make sense to me that if he's kind of being like, oh, you guys didn't get me out, and if there's a bit of a testiness there, I would want Anakin to kind of like call that out, right? Like, it wouldn't make sense that everyone would just ignore it. So that's why I'm trying, like, what would I call, like have them label that instead, right? Like, instead of having Anakin being like, oh, well, let me remind you, we rescued you back there. Okay, so loyalty. I think we'll go for loyalty. Like, I think Tarkin is characterized as someone who is loyal to power because he wants power. So then, while he doesn't technically change sides because the Republic becomes the Empire, there's also an aspect where it's not really the Republic that he's loyal to, and he's certainly not loyal to the Jedi. So when he's like, hey, just ditch the Jedi, save me, obviously, I think we'd have Anakin, the main reaction to that, kind of like, yo, are you serious, bro? And then here, when Tarkin's like, hey, I reserve my trust for a select few, then Anakin can be like, well, I reserve my trust for those who understand loyalty. And it kind of makes sense, right? Because it's like, well, I'm not going to trust you if you might turn your back on me whenever it's convenient for you. And then that would give a less selfish basis for Ahsoka to be like, hey, I don't like this guy. Because like right off the bat, he's like, ditch the Jedi. Right? So all of the Jedi in the group are going to be like, yo, who hurt you, bro? Like, so yeah. But then she has to, like, because I've had people argue with me that Tarkin was rude to her first, but it's like, no, actually, she's rude to him first without any reason. But this way, he's rude first. And then she can show maturity by not being rude back.
So that was Season 3, Episode 18, The Citadel, where we showed Ahsoka rising to the challenge despite her reservations. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop us a like, share with your friends, and consider subscribing so you don't miss future installments. As always, comment below letting us know what you think of our rewrites and what you would do differently. We'd appreciate any support you are willing and able to offer via Super Thanks or on Patreon, where we have plenty of exclusive content waiting for you. Next up, we'll be tackling Season 3, Episode 19, Counterattack, so be sure to join us for that.
Consider becoming a patron.